Hi everybody. As you know, I've been following a lot of Lance Mendheim's principles. I don't know him. I don't get kickbacks from Amazon or him for talking about his stuff. I just really think he has some good ideas when it comes to small model railroads. And I have all of his books. These two are my favorites right here. In both of these books, he talks fairly extensively about how to build a short staging area, or like a temporary area that you can put up and down when you need it. And it's not in the way the rest of the time. I'm going to do that on both ends of this layout. So I'm not going to show you how I cut the wood and painted it and all this stuff. It's just basic woodworking. But I'll show you a couple of the tricks I did that are a little bit different than what he did, and show you how it looks on my layout. I'm going to start on this end down here first. Both ends are going to get a staging yard, obviously, but I think this one will be easier to see right now. So if you remember, the fascia board that I used is just masonite. So really, I don't think that I could clamp a fiddle yard, or whatever you want to call it, my staging yard, to that masonite. I don't think that's going to be sturdy enough, even if it is supported on the other end. So I'm going to show you what I did to make it a little bit stronger. First of all, you can see how nice the wiring looks. It all works. Got my turnout in, soldered it in. Everything runs fine. I've run engines back and forth, and very happy with the way it works. I've gotten all my track painted now too. So as I pan down to this end, right here, that's a 2x2, which is actually 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. I cut a piece about 12 inches long, and I have 3 screws up from the bottom. Remember, the hollow core door has a solid wood frame all the way around the exterior of it, so that's into wood. So that's in there pretty tight, and that's what I'm going to use to attach the staging yard to. Okay, so first of all, this is the layout I built for the south end of my layout, or the staging yard I built for the south end of my layout. So it's actually going to go like this. It's 30 inches long. I'll explain when I talk about the operations of my layout. I'll tell you why I probably could have made it another foot longer, but I really didn't need to. And I'll explain that when I have another video about the operations. So the base is just a 1x4. Got it at Lowe's. Had some scrap masonite. I want to put guardrails on there because I don't want anything to take a plunge down to the floor. At the end, as you'll see when I put it in place, this is over a filing cabinet. So I put it in place, clamped it up, and I measured how far it had to be level. So I just cut a piece of 2x4 and screwed it in there. Got these little nails here, so trains won't run off the end of the track. At this end, as you can see, I've got a couple of holes. This is something that he did not do. He says he just put it on with a clamp, and I used the clamp. This is to help me line it up. Another thing that I'm not going to do is he says that he just relies on the rail joiners themselves to make the electric connection. Since I have a DCC friendly turnout on here, I can't do that because these 2 tracks would be dead because there's insulators right here. So I have to add some feeders. So I'm going to get my friend has some N-track, the connectors that they use for N-track modules. And so I'm actually going to put wiring where I plug it in and out every time I take it up and down. And I'll put the short ends up underneath the main layout so they don't hang down. They're not an eyesore. But that's something I'm going to have to do. If I only had 1 track and I used like a Pico Insel frog or something, I wouldn't have to wiring if I just wanted to rely on the rail joiners. But long term, I'm not really convinced that will last long term. But I guess you could always switch out the rail joiners if they get worn out. So I am going to have some electrical connections on this. So let me turn the video off, and I will re-aim the camera, and I'll show you how I put it into place. So I showed you how I put the 2x2 up underneath here for better bracing. Again, I'm still going to use the clamp to hold it up there. Something I did, which I thought would be a little bit better, I put a couple dowel pins here. So they're drilled into the 2x2 and they're glued in place. So these always stay there. That helps me line up the module. So when I put it in place, I'm not having to just worry about getting these rails right. These are going to help stabilize it a little bit to let me put it on there just a little bit easier. So let me get it. I'll try to stay out of your way, show you how I do it. Okay, so see this end, sit on the file cabinet. Slide this in on the dowels. Now all I have to worry about is getting the rail joiners to line up. Okay, that's pretty close. I'm going to take my clamp and you'll see it pull in tighter. I actually have to get it ideally, and I may go back and work on this a little bit. The rail joiners slide all the way back. The way I have it right now, the rail joiners are still out a little bit, and so I sort of have to get the tracks started into them before I can put the clamp on, or I won't do it. It won't work. Okay, so there, I got it that time. Look down at it, make sure it's pretty straight. It is. Now take the clamp, and that cinches it up nice and level. And then I will hook up my wires underneath. So I think that will be a good addition to the layout. So I just pulled a car off the other layout. I'm not going to put an engine on it. But it will roll, no problem. Well, at that time my fat fingers derailed it. Now if I can get it back on the track, I'll show you the other trick. Oh. Got both ends derailed, sorry about that. And this end rolls, no problem. So again, I'll talk about how I'm going to use this when I talk about the operations of my layout, which I will do in another video. Sorry about that. If I pan down to the other end, which I'm pretty long distance away, I only have 2 feet from here to that shelf if I go straight in. I'm going to curve it and come around, which is going to complicate it a little bit. That's why I showed you this one. This is straight. This is the easy one. I will have to put 2 braces on that to rest on this shelf down here. And my wife won't be able to keep anything tall on that shelf, which don't know if she can be real keen on yet, because we know that this basket's going to have to move, and she was okay with that. She's doesn't know I'm taking the whole shelf yet, or potentially taking the whole shelf. I have to move stuff off of it before I use it. But I will have to curve it in order to get a longer train, because the longer trains will be coming from the north end of the layout. And then it'll be shorter down the south end. And again, you'll understand that when I talk about the operations. I want to share with you a tip for filling in these holes like this. So inevitably, when you're working with foam and you drill holes for your feeders, it's not going to be a perfectly round hole, and when you go to ballast your track, it's just going to be like a black hole. You can't keep ballast from going down it. I've tried just filling it with white glue, but the white glue is dilute enough, it just runs down. It would take forever to do it. So I've got some sawdust here, and I'm going to make a little white glue and sawdust paste to put in there, and the sawdust should make it strong enough where it won't just disappear. So I'll show you what that looks like. Here's a pro tip learned from many years of experience. If you're going to go get in the kitchen cupboard to get some your wife's little, I don't know what they call these things, appetizer bowls or sauce dishes or something, do it when she's not home and have it cleaned up before she gets home. So I've just got some white glue, Elmer's school glue, water soluble, mixed up with some water. It's pretty soupy, but when I add the sawdust to it, I think there's going to be enough white glue there to bond it. So this is what it looks like. You want to get it where it has a lot of substance to it. It sort of looks like chunky oatmeal, but I bet it doesn't taste as good. So now I'm just going to use my fingers. And let's see if I can do this. Might want to have a paper towel handy. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to put it down into the hole. Now I use the school glue. One good thing about that is it is water soluble. So if for some reason I would ever need to, go back and redo this feeder or something like that, it should, if I add water, go, it should dissolve and I should be able to pull the wire through. So like a lot of things I do, there's no exact science to it. And but on my other layout, I didn't do this, and I had some real, black holes of ballast. I had to keep putting ballast in, and it just disappeared, and it's pretty frustrating. So it might help if you have a little spatula or something with a fine point to push it down in there. But I think that when that dries, of course you want to make sure it's below the ties because you don't want anyone to see this. It's covered with ballast. I think when that dries, I'm going to be in good shape. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to do the rest of the holes and clean all this up before my wife gets home. That's what it looks like. I'll just let it dry. A little bit of cleanup to do, make sure it's not sticking up the height of the ties, but and then I'm good to go. Got all the dishes cleaned up. My wife will never know. And as long as I put this at least 10 minutes into one of my videos, she'll be fast asleep by the time you see it. So I think I'm safe. Well, I had a little bit of fun on making this video, obviously. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do next weekend. I'm going to take one day next weekend, weather permitting, and make a big loop. First, I'm going to go to Chillicothe. It's a 3-hour drive from here, and I'm going to take measurements and photos of this yard office. This is not, it's a close approximation of the yard office in Chillicothe, but I'm going to try to scratch build one. If it's the same width, maybe I can even use the roof. I'm not sure because that roof is about dead on. But I'm going to try to do that next weekend. Drive 3 hours to Chillicothe. I have a 100-foot tape measure. Take measurements. Take pictures of all four sides because I don't have a picture of the end down here. And so I need to take a picture of that so I can figure out how to do it. I'm using my handheld gimbal for the first time, if you can't tell. So now let's go into the Oak Hill layout, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do in the second part of my road trip. Okay. So now we're in another bedroom. So the first building I think I will work on in Oak Hill is the brick plant. I've got a couple of pictures I took back in the 80s of what it looked like. Now, if you see the picture on the right, that building, the brick building is still there, but that loading dock, the covered part is all gone. The other part of the loading dock is still there, the concrete part. I was able to look on Google Earth and see if I can figure out how to work this, and scaled out the warehouse building. And now obviously I can't make the covered dock that long. That would take up way too much space. And I'm probably going to have to narrow this a little bit, do a little bit of selective compression. I don't know if I want it to be that deep. But some things I don't know is I don't know how wide the actual dock was on that brick building. There's part of it's enclosed within brick, and another part is like a loading dock. So I'm going to measure that. That's all out in the open. Shouldn't have any problem. Don't think anyone will run me off on a weekend just doing that. And once I figure out the dimensions of these buildings, then I'll be able to figure out where I'm going to put the streets in here. I think I'm going to have the street curve around behind it into the backdrop. And I'm just going to take a whole bunch of pictures next week because I got to figure out my backdrop. I can't go too much farther without knowing what I'm going to do on my backdrop. So that's going to be another part of the road trip. So I hope everyone enjoyed seeing my staging yard take shape and how I filled my holes on my where my wires are and had a little bit of fun. And so until I talk to you the next time, everybody stay safe.